Good morning, everyone. Call the meeting to order. No one needs to be excused. Minutes from the 5th. Although we made a bit of a mistake that day, we will still have to approve them as circulated, or unless there was other things that have to be corrected. I have a motion. Lionel? Lionel moves as circulated. All in favor? That's passed. Are there any post-agenda items? Seeing none, can we have an adoption of the agenda? Alan? Alan moves. All in favor? That is also passed. Can we go on to subdivisions? Aaron, are you doing it? Yeah. Okay, go ahead. Whenever you're ready.
Thank you. So the subdivision we have here today is file number 2019-0-160. The purpose of this application is to create one new parcel approximately 5 acres in size, containing an existing residence from a previously unsubdivided quarter section. The subject land to be subdivided is legally known as the Northwest Quarter, Section 3, 2014, west of the 4th Meridian, and is located in Division 8, approximately 3 miles southeast of the village of Dutchess. A surveyor's sketch has been submitted. With the application, it does appear that the dwellings and improvements are all contained within the proposed lot. Services to the parcel are from a septic tank and field, and potable water is hauled to the property and stored within a cistern. There is an abandoned open discharge system located to the north of the residence and does not meet the required 300-meter setback from the property lines. Access to the proposed parcel is from a developed county road to the west, and there are no abandoned wells, wetlands, or historic resources found within the subject lands. The application has been circulated, and we've had the following comments back. TELUS, ATCO Gas, and ATCO Pipelines have no objection, and Fortis Alberta does not require an easement. Based on this, it is recommended that the subdivision be approved based on the following conditions. For the first one, that all outstanding property taxes be paid. The second one, that the applicant or owner enter into a development agreement with the County of Newell. And the third condition is that the applicant disable the existing open discharge system on the parcel as it cannot meet the required 300-meter setback, or 300 feet setback from the new property lines. And we should have written confirmation that the system is disabled. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Brian moves as presented. All in favor? That is passed. Going on to development permits, we had a bit of a problem with what happened last meeting, and Lane, I'll ask you just to quickly explain it to the MPC.
We did have a procedural problem, I guess, with changing the nature of the application from a HOMOC 2 to a HOMOC 3. And for that reason, the approval that was provided is null and void. So what we should be doing is rescinding that motion, and then we're going to be dealing with the application again as a HOMOC 2. And the discussion has taken place with the applicant. They're well aware of what is transpiring. So I don't think there's going to be any concerns, but Maria would be able to provide some additional detail for us when we get to that.
Oh, yes, Anne-Marie?
Well, since I made that illegal motion, maybe I should rescind it and make the new one?
Well, let's just do it one at a time.
Oh, okay. Can I rescind my motion, please?
Yes, you can. Any discussion? All in favor? That is passed. Is there anything to add different than just a reclassification?
I think Lane explained it very well, but I guess this has been a learning experience for all of us, ORSC and our department. We're still learning all the procedures. And so what happened is a home occupation 2 was presented, and Shanna Lee had spoke to the applicant. They decided what was best for that business at the time. And we circulated to the adjacent landowners that application. So when we move the home occupation 3, it could allow for a more intense business, and therefore we should have let the adjacent landowners know. And that's why that motion shouldn't have been made, I guess, at the time. So now we know, and we won't let it happen again. So we'll present the new one.
Shanna Lee.
Development permit 2019099 is for a mobile wild game trimming and processing business. The business involves a van that is equipped with meat cutting tools and gear. The applicants will travel to the customer's location where the animals will be trimmed, finished, and packaged. All remnants from the animals will be left on site. The van will be cleaned and stored at the owner's parcel. There was no issues from staff. There was no response from adjacent landowners, and we're recommending approval with conditions, which would be the the 2 non-resident employees, and any intensification of use would be at the discretion of the development officer.
Okay. Thank you. I guess it's a lesson for all of us not to be too nice. Anyway, Anne-Marie, would you like to make another motion?
Would love to.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve this development permit.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All in favor? Thank you. Seeing no post-agenda items and nothing in camera, question period. Any questions whatsoever? MPC business? Seeing none, I'll adjourn the meeting. Thank you.
Merry Christmas, Aaron and Haley.
Ken, before we get started, just have a quick talk about compensation. There's been a request that we have it in by noon, and so just a couple things. I think we run this meeting till 3 o'clock. Everybody claims till 3. We should be okay. I know some of you have already sent it in. You'll have to make the adjustments after, but if everybody who hasn't can go till 3 o'clock. If it doesn't go, we'll still count it till 3. If it goes past, we'll add it in January. As far as yesterday is concerned, the meeting, the hosting of Brooks for everybody else is not claimable, but the 3 hours for the joint meeting is. So just so we're all on the same page for yesterday. The open house isn't. Unless you want to, but it's open house is social. It's you can either go or you can't, or you don't have to go, and so and nobody really has to do anything except be sociable. So I think That's another question I had though, Lane. I used to be able to look up what happened in years gone by very easily, and I see where's compensation stuff for years gone by? You look at the agenda, it's not there. Used to be able to go to the agenda and see what was on our sheets. And unless I wasn't doing it right, I couldn't find it.
We'll check into it and see what we can do to reinstate what we had in the agenda package before.
Ariana, are you ready? Okay. All right, I'll call the meeting to order. There's no one to be excused, and so we need to have the adoption of the minutes from December the 5th. Lionel moves. All in favor? Opposed? Motion is carried. Call for post-agenda items. I'm going to add the Government Finance Officers Award. Anne-Marie.
Intergovernmental relation in camera.
Anything else? Could we get a motion to adopt? Oh, Kevin, sorry.
Madam Reeve, I was wondering from last night, Mayor Bill from Rosemary had asked for a resolution of support for the application that he's working on the SEWA. So I'm wondering if it would be in order to put a motion. I think he's sending a package, but we won't be meeting again until into January. So
I'll put that under post-agenda.
thanks.
Anything else? Motion to adopt. Clarence moves. All in favor? Opposed? Motion is carried. We'll go to item 7. Just want to check, ladies, before so we can get your stuff done. Item 7 and 10. Okay, we'll hop around a bit so you guys can get done. All right, item 7.1, Bylaw 1967-19.
Thank you. So this land use amendment application, the purpose of it is to redesignate portions of 4 existing parcels, including the Tilley reservoirs, to be redesignated to the rural business district in order to accommodate a private recreational development, including recreational fishing and a potential campground. And the rural business district is the only one that accommodate that. So it is recommended to council to provide first reading to Bylaw 1967-19 to redesignate a total of 32.18 acres of land, including a portion of Block A, Plan 971-2203 within the northwest quarter of Section 19-17-12, west of the 4th Meridian, and portions of the northeast, southeast, and southwest quarters, all contained within Section 19-17-12, which have land from the Public Service District and Agricultural District to the Rural Business District. Now, if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thanks, Erin. Questions? Seeing no questions, can we get a motion for first reading to put this into the process? Hubie makes that motion. All in favor? Opposed? Motion is carried. Item 7.2 is the schedule of Oh no, we'll go to 10.1. Road closure.
Thank you. Our department was approached by the landowner, and they would like to close the road allowances shown on this map. So portions of road next to the northwest of 2016-12 and portions of road adjacent to the northeast of 2016-12. The one portion of road next to the northeast of 20 is being used within their irrigated farming operation. And that's the same with the one that's adjacent to the northwest of 20. It's being irrigated, and it's also just being used as a go-between both fields. Both of these roads lead to Bantry Bay number 1, which is part of the works of the Eastern Irrigation District. So some of these lands, specifically this corner in the northeast of 20, is owned by the EID. So access will be affected with this road closure to that portion. So the landowner is interested in either road closure or sale, or road closure and lease. Our department is recommending road closure and lease to the landowner if council is in favor.
Questions from council? Clarence and Hubie.
So how do we give access for the EID to that little corner?
Well, we could, if it's a road closure and lease, then we would accommodate access via an agreement in the lease document that the EID can use that piece. If we receive a decision today, then we'll speak to the EID on this. It looks to me like this is surveyed as part of the water, bed and shores of the water. So the usable land in that piece is being used by the applicant. So that's how we would accommodate access.
But legally, we have to have access to that little chunk. And it's got to be proper. I mean, yeah, we know the access right now is through that road that's being farmed, and nobody really needs it. But legally, that piece has to have access, or it has to be joined with something that's also EID land. So we have to have some formality there. I'm pretty darn sure. Anyway, that's my question. Even though we don't use the piece that's running through the middle of the pivot field, it's still there, and that piece of land has access. But once we take that away, there is none.
That's right. So in a road closure and lease situation, the county would still maintain that road. They would maintain ownership of that road, but then it would be closed to public use. So then that road could be utilized by the applicant as part of his farming operation. In that lease agreement, we could stipulate that the EID can still access, or the owner of that piece can still access their land via that road allowance if that they ever need to get there. In the event that that piece, if there's a development permit pertaining to that piece, then that road could be reopened in order to develop a road in the road closure and lease situation. Yeah.
That was my question too, what Clarence reiterated here, so about EID access.
So just for clarity, Maria, you're suggesting lease with conditions as to who can use the road, and that's something new. Typically, we lease, and the applicant, or if successful, has reign over who has access. So this is a little bit different. Not sure that this is what we need, or what would be best for us.
I understand this as being asking for permission to proceed. So if that's what we're doing right now, then I guess we could make conditions on proceeding with this application as a lease, depending on access.
I think we still have to determine whether, I can't, like, we haven't done something and said that that's a, I can't remember the exact words, there's actual and there's legal physical stuff. And we have a legal access, but physically it's not, because if there's a corn crop growing on that or whatever, or it's just pivots going over it, it's not, there's no actual. And I'm wondering if we aren't, as a jurisdiction, obligated to find another access for that little piece of land that we really don't think anybody ever needs access to. It just reminds me of so much of what we have in Rolling Hills that it's crazy, and you know, we've just now finally, after 10 years, or maybe that's 10 years that I've been involved, probably 20, 30 years before, that we had problems with exactly the same thing, and I'm just wondering, and I'd like to, before we even proceed, I want to be absolutely sure that we do not have to also provide actual access, not just legal.
Yep.
Definitely, we need to maintain legal and physical access should a development occur. And I think that by leasing or closing the road allowance to maintain, or to deal with the irrigation that's happening and the utilization of the road allowance by the adjacent landowner, that will be taken care of, and the liability will be taken care of with the closure. And then the lease part of it, the county still maintains the right to reopen that road allowance. So that still is part of the county jurisdiction. And they can then reopen it, rescind the bylaw that closed it, and then reopen it to give physical access at any point that becomes developed, or the potential to be developed. So, yeah.
Tracy?
So I'm just wondering, like, if the road closure and lease goes through, so if some chance a staff member of the EID needs to go down there, they can just drive through and go?
Well, right now as an open road allowance, it's open to the public, so anybody can go down there. And the landowner who's irrigating it really has no right to disallow anyone to use it. So by closing it, we could put in the lease agreement that the EID still needs access. This is their legal access, and so they could still use that as far as the lease agreement goes. Whether they choose to do that or not, I guess is, yeah.
I agree with Clarence on this one. I don't want that piece of land sitting there without actual access. If the ID for whoever and who knows what the future, they could end up selling it to somebody like we did in what happened in Rolling Hills. I think we have to have actual access to that land, or else consolidate it with the other piece of land, get the EID to get rid of it, because we don't want to go through this problems again that we did in Rolling Hills. So, I mean, they had a legal access on that place too, but look at the problems we went through. So, I think we nip this in the butt before we get too far here.
So, due to past experience, yes, once bitten, twice shy. Lane?
We have had previous precedents set where there has been access required by a limited number of parties that have needs to obtain access beyond through somebody else's land that is the subject of a lease enclosure application. That could certainly be included as a condition of the lease in this situation. Another alternative is that the land to the east of this pivot circle that is being farmed, I anticipate that it's owned by the same party that is farming the circle in question. It is a grass parcel, and what could be done is a negotiated easement registered against that title to ensure that the EID parcel does have access through the grassland, as opposed to suggesting that they have to have access granted right through the center of that pivot circle. So I think that there's some alternatives that will address the need to ensure that there is legal and physical access to that parcel. By giving first reading, it gives us a chance to go through and review what those options are and make sure that we've got that information for you when the public hearing takes place.
Does that allay some of your concerns? We just sort of get it moving? Wayne? Okay. Further discussion? Anne-Marie?
I'm a little confused. The request is approval to proceed. It's not a request for first reading.
Means that we're going to hear about it, it's going to come back to us. I'd forgotten that when we have these closures or leases, there's usually a sort of we are informed so that our staff knows whether or not they should go ahead or drop it. So that's what we're looking at today. And so Wayne's motion would be to give our staff the go-ahead to look into this further and come back with more information. And the official application, I guess, is that accurate? Yeah. To lease. Yeah. Yeah, be option one, right? Okay, any other comments? I'll call the question. All in favor? Opposed? Motion is carried. All right, so we'll expect to hear more. Thank you. Matt is here for item 7.2. Is that the only one you're here for today, Matt?
I've also got, I can't remember what it is, 10.2.
10.2. Right, gotcha. Thank you.
If you want to do both, I'm happy to accommodate.
So item 7.2 is on the schedule of fees.
Really, the only surprise I think you'll see in the schedule of fees is I've proposed that you only increase the minibus by $2 instead of $2.50. save people having to carry some quarters, and I don't think it'll have that big of an impact. We're in the right direction, but after feedback from the drivers and the users, I think we can make life a little bit easier for those folks. Otherwise, you'll see some changes in planning and development. Jeff and Maria got together and made a few changes there, making explicit the safety code council fee. They have added a provision to refund up to 50% of a construction permit fee, so long as that request comes in before Park has done any of their inspections. And Jeff confirmed that Park is all right with that arrangement. We've moved a few things around in the GIS section, updated the charges there, utility rates, not a surprise. Dust abatement increased to 65% cost recovery, which is the $2.99 per meter that we talked about. Really, that's the highlights of the bylaw. We're looking for first reading today, and then we'd get second and third in the new year.
Questions? Anne-Marie?
You just have to explain that 50% refund again.
So for a construction permit, somebody comes in, applies for it. If they come in before they have constructed anything and say we want a refund, so long as nothing's happened and Park hasn't done their bit, they can get a 50% refund on that.
I must be missing something. Why would we ask for a deposit if you're going to give half of it back before the inspection is done?
That would be a good question for Jeff and Maria. I think talking to Jeff, their idea is if we haven't incurred all the expense related to the work, it does make it, I don't know if easier is the word. Talking to him, he said they're really looking for every opportunity to reduce any kind of friction that would prevent people from coming to get these permits. So this they kind of see as an opportunity to get people in the doors. There's an opportunity, if you don't proceed, to get some of it back, where we haven't incurred all the costs related to getting through the whole permit and inspection process. If that makes any more sense.
So this is like somebody who comes in, gets a permit, and then changes their mind, basically, about building. Yes. Which is, I think, in line with what we're trying to do with encouraging people to get a permit at least. Yeah. So 50% because there would still have been part work done by our staff. Lionel.
Are we done with this? I was going to change the subject a little.
I think so.
Okay. The water delivery charges, the rural water system, are we at full recovery on them, on those costs now, or because I know we were playing some catch up for a while? How are we doing there?
I think we've got a little bit further to go when you include your amortization charges, things like that. But we're getting closer. The other thing with the rural, with these long-lived assets, we want to at least sock away reserves for covering the amortization at least, so we can take care of these things. When I look at these systems, one of the things that I struggle with is what's full cost recovery, right? And being able to project what the repairs and maintenance are going to be on these systems where, we're only a few years in. It's hard for me to tell you that when we've arrived at an actual full cost recovery, because I think that is going to ebb and flow. It's kind of like Rolling Hills, our experience down there in that hamlet. You only need one or two really bad breaks and to get a vac truck out there to just kind of bankrupt your plans, kind of a thing. So I don't think we're overcharging for sure on that system. I think we are providing very good value. You talk to anybody who had been paying for water to be hauled and what it costs to have a contractor haul in a tank of water. I don't think we're even coming close with our monthly charge there. So I think the county can be proud of the good value that's provided from that system and what we charge for it.
Where were we? Where were we at before? We got 26 now for base charge, and was it 25 before? Molly says 24.86.
Yeah, it's there in this 2019 column.
So the other question that I had, and I think I know the answer, but we struck out quotes submitted by independent qualified contractors will not be accepted to determine permit costs, and we struck it out. And my understanding is that it's not that we will accept them, but it's that's not how we determine what the permit fee should be. That it's done by what's followed, so much per square foot and so forth. And the reason I ask is because we live in a farming community and everybody does their own thing, and it might be pretty hard to say who's an independent contractor and who's not. But maybe that's not a concern.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's just not relevant anymore that you've shifted to the charge per square foot. It's kind of taken maybe some of that bias that could creep in out of it.
Remind me, what is the minibus service rate right now? Because I haven't rode it for a week or two.
Well, we do need more riders, so hop on the bus. It's $10 right now, which is just extremely good value for getting picked up at your doorstep and driven around town.
Not at your doorstep. You have to go to the hamlet to get picked up.
Not if you don't live in a house. Yeah.
Things have improved then.
Yeah. Go to the hotel and sit for the afternoon and get a ride home.
Okay.
Any other questions? All right, do we have motion for first reading of this bylaw? Kelly will make that motion. All in favor? Opposed? Motion is carried. And moving to item 10.2. There is a little mistake in that, where there should be, I think it says employee rather than counselor in 7, one of them anyhow. One of the, it's not a big deal. Go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, if you catch any grammatical or any mistakes like that, we're happy to correct them. So direction was provided last meeting to look into how we accommodate disabilities specifically. It really opens up into a broader context, actually. So I spent some time with our manager of corporate safety to kind of review what we already do, because I know we're already doing things. If an employee gets hurt, whether it's at work or outside of work, the county already has a disability management plan in place. That's where corporate safety comes in and figures out how we're going to accommodate return to work, things like that. But I think the point was made that it's not really clear in our existing personnel policy if I, as an employee, and I took it to council as well through their compensation committee policy, how somebody with a disability that might not be obvious, or whether it's a disability or any of the other protected grounds, that we already have that duty to accommodate our employees and councillors under. How you would go about surfacing your need for an accommodation, and how we as the employer would evaluate that and either approve or deny that. So I've made some recommendations that we include some definitions in our personnel policy, duty to accommodate, what accommodation actually means. So we're not talking hotels, right? So hopefully everybody's had a chance to read through what we've got in the personnel policy. I kind of struggled to figure out where's the best place to put this as it applies to councillors. Is it the compensation review committee? Do you create a whole new committee? A lot of accommodation requests I don't think will always have financial impacts, but in my research into the whole duty to accommodate realm, everything really is on a case-by-case basis that it has to be evaluated. We as an employer have the duty to accommodate up to the point of undue hardship. If you ask me what undue hardship is, it, again, on a case-by-case basis, right? So it has to be extreme financial, or really you can't continue to fulfill the duties of that employment position, so bona fide employment requirement. So I tried to be brief on the policy side of things, recognizing that there could be a broad range of circumstances that are surfaced. But I think the policies, both policies as they read now, at least provide direction to an employee or a councillor where they would go to surface their request and who's responsible for evaluating those and approving them. So on the employee side, I've recommended that the requests go to the payroll HR administrator. They would pull together the employee's director and corporate safety. Corporate safety so they can hijack the request if it should be managed but through our disability management program that's already in place. And then they would make a recommendation to our CAO whether to approve the accommodation or not. So the CAO would exercise his good judgment and whether he thinks it would be undue hardship or something that we could accommodate. On the councillor side, I've recommended that it goes to the compensation review committee. They review it and approve or deny the expenses, which come back to council for approval. So this is a first kick at the can. I may not have got it totally right, but I'm open to comments or questions about.
Thanks, Matt. And the word it's the policy handbook, the Councillor Compensation Review Committee one that I was referencing, item 7.3 should have counselor instead of employee. Minor error, but Ellen, you had your hand up.
Yeah, just clarification. What about privacy concerns? It says here, submit a statement from a doctor about medical information. Is there not such a thing as privacy?
Yeah, you bet. So each request, again, is going to have to be evaluated on a case-by-case basis. We, as the employer or councillors, will have to refer back to our, I believe we have a separate FOIP policy at the county. So everything's, going to need to take those things into to consideration. Some of the notes that I had kind of jotted down, we can request medical information that explains the employee's functional limitations and the necessary accommodations. We can't ask for a diagnosis. So, yeah, what the bounds within which we can operate are we have to respect the privacy. All those things, I think, are in play here. And it can be a pretty touchy area. When it comes to an accommodation request, we as the employer are obligated to, accommodate reasonable requests. We're not responsible to have perfect or instant accommodation. So you go on to the Alberta Human Rights Commission website and you can see all of the different cases and complaints that have gone before the tribunal, and this is not a black and white area.
Clarence?
I appreciate that. So a councillor asked the compensation committee, is this legit? Compensation committee says fine. And a month later it goes to council, and they say, no, we're not going to support that. Is that how you see it working? Or they do or don't support it? So do I kind of go around and say, okay, what's council going to support and what they're not going to support without now going into specifics, and find out where council sits on these issues, or how do you view that?
I'll put it back to council. How do you want to kind of view that? So if an accommodation request comes, would council be comfortable with the compensation review committee exercising their good judgment and approving things without council as a whole being able to come back and say, well, you approved it, but we're going to negate it. We don't think that a $10,000 expense to build a ramp or do some concrete work is reasonable. That's undue hardship. I kind of stayed away from putting a dollar amount on anything, just because I'm not sure how you actually put a dollar amount, and I couldn't find anything in my research that supported a dollar amount. And each case is evaluated on its own merits against each employer's capacity, right? So our capacity as a government organization is probably a lot greater than a small mom and pop shop with 2 or 3 employees to accommodate certain requests. So yeah, I'm not sure that I answered your question, but it would be nice that the committee could make that decision and be confident that in a month's time, as payment sheets are approved or denied, that council as a whole doesn't revert that. But I'll leave that to council, how you want to see the mechanics of that work.
I think that's the role we have now, and that's what we do when we approve those recommendations every month. So I don't see it being a problem myself.
But I'm looking at duty to accommodate, and my view of that is that no one should be restricted from doing anything any of the rest of us are doing because of financial considerations. And that may include an additional person coming along. Because if that person does not come along, that particular individual may not be able to go to certain activities that all other council members can. Is that a fair judgment?
Yeah, I think really anything's on the table, right? Whether it's personal care aids, renovations to the building, seeing eye dogs, right? So it would be hard for me to exhaust the list of possibilities, but I think council in their judgment can determine up to what dollar amount they think in their judgment is reasonable for, on the councillor side, for a councillor to tend to their duties as a councillor, and what's reasonable there.
Yeah, I think like the compensation committee should make a decision. It comes to council, but council is the final. We make that decision. Now, is there an appeal? Is there some way to appeal to the council because sometimes you don't get your facts straight. And is there some way in this process that a person who applied for this compensation can actually appeal to council?
Yeah, I would think so. We could put another one-liner in there, maybe just right at the end there. Point 9, where we talk about if accommodation is not possible because it poses undue hardship, these details will be communicated to the councillor by the committee. Maybe we throw another one-liner in there. If the applicant wants to appeal, they would take it to council as a whole. And you could deal with that in camera.
It can't hurt to write that down, but I mean, that is the system we basically have in place now. If you are, you know, if there's something on the monthly thing that you disagree with, you can say, hey, this is what went on. I can explain it, and council says yay or nay. And the only reason that this system ever came into place was because of councillors who refused to remove things from their compensation forms, that the rest of this, the majority of the group said, who gave you authority to do that? And it didn't matter. They were going to write it on their form. So that's how the system was developed, and it's worked well, I think. And I to me, this is just an additional continuation of that system. And to have that in the policy would be good. And it's become practice. So, Lionel.
Well, I like your approach here. You know, you don't want to make it too rigid or too flexible either. So a little discretionary measures on the part of the council is good. And I think not only the fact that you know, because you can get people in this position who are very not only needy but demanding, and maybe some of that is excessive.
We have one.
I know, that's why I'm well experienced with it.
It's Kelly.
So you do need to be a little careful there also. But I really appreciate the fact that you're doing this. Personally, I thank all of you for considering it. And when it's time to make a motion,
you are very
I will
welcome.
make it.
Brian.
So in regards to the concerns that council could potentially reverse a decision by the compensation committee, I guess I'm not that concerned about that. If you look at number 7 in what you've written there and all the supporting 1 through 5, if the councillor that is applying for this has accommodated all those criteria, why or how could council deem that out of order, so to speak? So the councillor comes through and says, you know what, here's the 5 things you've requested in your policy. I've completed them, and compensation review committee says, yes, we agree with you. We're recommending that this goes forward. I don't see a circumstance. I can't foresee how council could reverse that based on all the evidence that you have in your policy. Otherwise, you'd be contravening your own policy. So I'm comfortable with this, and that's why, because I think you've done a good job in putting those criteria forward. And maybe I'm missing something, but because of that, I don't have the concern of reversing a compensation committee decision, because they're also governed by this, that they need to see that information. There is another point that I wanted to make in all of this, and it's outside of this policy, but it's something that I know we've talked about, once or twice over the time I've been a councillor, and it has some merit because of the value that some of us feel, and I'm going to speak for myself, that when you look at when we go to conventions, and some are better than others, and I think we're drawn to the ones that we're able to go to, rather than sometimes the one that we feel the most necessary to do our job right. And the example I'm going to give is, perhaps you feel the most benefit for you as a councillor is to go to FCM 3 times in your 4-year term or whatever, and that's all you want to do. So the challenge that I'm saying is maybe what we should do better is to put a dollar figure on on the average councillor. So if you think about a 4-year term, you go one time to FCM and to ASB and maybe once to RMA a year. I don't know, like, it's a number that I don't know where it would fall, but if you said, well, I don't want to go to RMA or I don't want to go to ASB, but FCM is really important to me, and you feel that you're best serving your county position by doing that, and I'm just giving that as an example. You have the option to do that, but it's the dollar figure. Once you've spent your dollar figure, the rest is on your own time. So if you want to go to everything, you can still do that, but you're going to pay for it yourself, or you choose to not to. And it's not just you get a check and then you get to spend it how you want. You actually have to show your receipts. So anyways, I've thought about that quite a bit, because I think, I've been to a few RMAs where you wonder why you're there. And whereas ASB is really important to me, I think I get good value for that, and I can return that. So anyways, it's just a thought.
Thanks, Brian. But couldn't we talk about that already? I mean, at any point in time? What's stopping us from having that discussion?
Yeah, and that's true, but I guess that's why I bring it up when if people are concerned that this policy could be abused, that's another way to say, well, how do we, because that's always my concern too, is that how you put a policy in place, is it going to function properly for the majority of council? And so that's an option. And I know there is councils that do that. I'm not that familiar with how they go about it, but there is councils that do that. So.
Yeah. And I think welcome the discussion if we think that that's something that we should talk more about. But I don't think that has to be always written down, or if we come up with something, I guess we could put it into a policy, right? Wayne, you had your hand up? Oh, Tracy.
Do we not kind of have that already in our council policy, because it talks about what, like with our committees and what conferences we go to, and so if we were going to be a little more specific, wouldn't we change it there, not in this one? Or am I misunderstanding you?
Yeah, and that I think is my point, Tracy, too. Yeah, that if we need to make some changes, let's have the discussion. But let's work on this one today. Lionel?
Just a comment, I guess. I know in my experience, every time I think I got this thing figured out, it changes. So it's very, very difficult, I think, to make rules that will accommodate future circumstances also for an individual. And so if you're trying to make rules for a number of individuals, whoever is presented, that's very, very difficult. Almost has to be on a one-to-one basis to make it work. I don't.
No, and I agree.
It's
and
really
I think
tough.
Policies have to be practiced and tried out before. I mean, that's why they're reviewed and changed and fixed. So this is the first kick at the can, as Matt said, which we can kick further down the road as we go. Any further discussion on it? Or questions, comments? Can we get a motion then? Kelly? Kelly will move. Got to check back and see exactly what it is we're moving. It says to adopt those two policies then, Matt. Okay. All in favor? Opposed? Motion is carried. Thanks, Matt, for your work on this. Just before Matt goes, I know we are a little bit behind, but I received the information that once again, and I'm saying once again because I think we've been doing this for a couple of years or a few years in a row, the Canadian Award for Financial Reporting has been for fiscal year ending December 31st, 2018, was once again awarded to the County of Newell. So thank you, Matt. Congratulations. And I mean, I'm not sure if they want us to arrange for a formal presentation. So if you wanted to come in your tux to the next meeting.
You know, I prefer to fly as much under the radar as possible. We put our sticker on the tablet out there. It's I think good for the county to be recognized by the GFOA. And I don't want to take all the credit for it. We've had great leadership the last decade, and you have invested a lot of time and resources into your financial and budgeting system, and they just run themselves now, right? These awards we just expect to come in now because we set the program and we make marginal improvements each year based on their suggestions back to us, and it's valuable feedback back to us on management team to look at. How do we continue to improve? Are there big gaps, or is it just on the margin now? And right now it's on the margin for us, so nice place to be.
Question is, will they let us know when you don't win this?
I will intercept that mail, and nothing will go on Facebook.
Well, we really do appreciate the advances we've made with budgeting and all the great things you guys do in finance. And as I've said many times before, I actually sort of look forward to the budget document now, which is, and I'm not a fan of numbers, but do appreciate everything you and your department do, Matt. So thank you. Keep up the great work. And there's a press release here that I'll pass on to Ms. Stanway in case she wants to do something. Thank you, Matt. All right. Item at 11 o'clock is a presentation. Jessica Surgenor, Economic Development. I see that is item 8.1 on your agenda. And I see Lisa is with you also.
Yeah, she just came to observe.
Welcome, Jessica. Thank you for coming to help our council understand better what economic development is all about. I suggested this a couple of meetings ago when we were talking about what is it that we, as the county, gets out of economic development. So Jess is always happy to help us figure out things, and so she's here today to answer questions, and you have a little presentation, I think, off the get-go. So
Yeah, it's really, really short. I'll start. Thank you for having me. I'll start there.
you know everybody around the table. You've met
so.
everyone.
Yeah. Closer. Darn it, I hate microphones. That's the only part that makes me nervous. It's not talking in front of all of you, it's the microphone.
Jess, there's a few people say they actually have not met you, so
Okay.
So we'll just go around and have everyone say who they are and what part of the county they represent. Lionel.
Hi, Jess, Lisa. Division 10, which is north and east of Brooks.
Good morning, Hebe Callan, Division 2, Tilly area.
Good morning. You guys both know me. I'm your counselor.
Hello.
Good morning, Brian DeJong, and I represent the area around the Village Duchess. Thank you for coming today.
Clarence Amulung, Rolling Hills.
Okay,
Hi, Jess. I represent all 10 councillors.
gotcha.
It's a tough job, too.
And I'm likely the one that has never met you, Jess, but I'm Kelly Chrisman from the west side of the county, Div 6.
Wayne Hammergan, Division 4, to scan uranium, Bow City.
Good morning, Ellen Unruh, and I represent the countryside around the village of Rosemary.
Right.
Ariana Nielsen, Executive Assistant.
Just want to add to your anxiety, the meeting is being recorded. You will be able to view it on YouTube.
Oh, that's great. Thanks, Lane. Appreciate it. Well, I won't spend too much time on the presentation. I'm sure that many of you have a lot of questions, so I'll try to, I'm known for rambling, so I won't ramble. I'll do the presentation quickly and then leave it up to questions. So I just wanted to start off. I included some pictures in here as well so that you could see some of the people that we work with. This is Yelmer Tilma out of Rolling Hills, as some of you might know him. I wanted to start off with introducing who we are. As you all are very well aware that the county contributes 50% to the economic development budget, and the city also contributes 50%, but we like to put out the perception that we're a very large team. It's not just a perception. We do collaborate with one another quite a bit. So in this slide that you'll see, we've broken down who our partners are and how those partnerships work, and basically who is in charge of what. It can get very confusing in economic development of exactly what economic development is, and then who does what. Budget's not included in here for breakdown, but basically the budget puts forward enough for one full-time position. So Nova is in charge of business retention and expansion, which is a huge piece, and I help her with that, but I'm primarily investment attraction. And then Lisa behind me, she is our boss, and she oversees all of our strategic planning. She does the session with joint services, and then from that strategic plan, we create our work plan, and that's basically for about 3 years that we go through that work plan. I'll discuss in the next few slides what we prioritize in terms of economic development, but before I do so, you'll see that we also create a lot of partnerships within the region, not only with Visit Newell or the NRTA, we also work really closely with Mesnat College and the BRZ, and Business Link. Matt used to be with Community Futures, as some of you know him. He has switched roles into Business Link, so he's still our partner, and then the Chamber of Commerce and Community Futures is still in there. So I just wanted to put a visualization out there for all of you to see how that's broken down. And then here's our approach to economic development. So that strategic plan that we've created with the Joint Services Committee focuses on those three things. But in this visualization, I wanted to show that relationship building and marketing is basically the most important thing to our team. Without that relationship building and that marketing, it's really hard to present ourselves to someone without having a really good brand per se. And I know that was the last time we were here, was to present that initial brand. So you'll see that in everything that we do. It's not just in the visualization, but it's who we are and what we do. And one of our brand slogans is that we are here to take a joke, make a joke. We're here to build relationships. We're very easygoing. We have a very proactive government and a supportive government. So relationships is really important to us. And then the three strategic focus areas that we're working on right now are business retention and expansion, investment attraction, and then partnerships and collaboration. And I'll get into those three really briefly. Business retention and expansion, or BRE, is really the foundation of economic development. And so it says in the slide, like, we could go after new investment, but unless our current businesses are happy and we're meeting their needs, it's really not senseless, but it's harder to go out and attract new investment if our current businesses aren't happy and basically singing our praises. And then an effective BRE program is based on the knowledge and that constant communication with our business community. So creating a BRE program is really time consuming and labor intensive, because we can say that we're building a relationship, but it's a lot more than that. It is very, very time consuming, and we want to make sure that, like I said, those businesses that we currently have are happy. I threw some visuals in there. Like I said, this is our brand. We work with a lot of local businesses, and Newell Brewing is one of them. And then it gets into investment attractions. So I know that you obviously already know that each municipality or governments will compete in terms of economic development to attract new businesses and support economic growth. They do create and enable a stable government, which stimulates employment, increases assessment, and develops the economy. So we do work to attract new investment. And it seems to be the most measurable or the most tangible, I want to say, for the return on investment, because it's something that you can see. When you bring in a new business, yes, it's obvious that it's, created 25 new jobs, and I think what a lot of people miss is those current jobs that we're holding on to, so that's really key as well. And so we work very hard with interested investors and developers. We fill out requests for information, or what we call RFIs. We give a lot of tours. We provide statistics information, and then we act as a really helpful contact, and we will connect current businesses and new investors to networks and resources to help them succeed. And then this is Dr. John Zhang at the Crop Diversification Center. We've been working with them quite a lot lately as well, because they've been suffering, and we use them as a really good resource for investors. We'll tour the facility, and just investors knowing that we have that resource in this area is quite exciting for them to know that they can reach out to that group. And then again, like I said, marketing and branding. So a great marketing strategy will attract investors and developers and site selectors, new businesses, residents, tourists. It is all in the perception, not necessarily just the perception, but we have been branding the fact that we're a safe region. We have a great quality of life, and that all comes together within the brand. So we push that out through our website, as it's the most reachable point of contact for anyone that doesn't, even though for those who are in the region. So we really put a lot of effort into our website and then that overall brand. And then municipal branding delivers economic prosperity, civic pride, and support. So it's not just for those external people, it's also for the internal. So if you're living here and you're not proud of where you're living, that's going to reverberate into the outside community. So we're also really working hard to make sure that building those local partnerships through our marketing and branding is also making people happy and proud to live here and want to stay living here. So that's where marketing and branding comes into that. I put this slide in here because it's our biggest hit on our website. People want to know when they go to investigate. We've been investing into what's called SEO, and it's called search engine optimization. So when someone doesn't necessarily look up Newell or Brooks, they're just looking into invest, we want our website to hit the top of that search engine. And then we find once we get someone to and that's called an organic search, because they're not actually searching us specifically, when they get to our website, they're most interested in who our team is. So I said perception. We put this image out there. It shows that we're fun and we're quirky. It's not the best photo of us, but it shows that we are approachable. I won't read this slide. It's just some of the people that we work with on an ongoing basis. I can't say enough that building relationships is what we're really good at, and then what we really focus on. I didn't even list out all of the different contacts that we have in here. I broke it down into different types of stakeholders, but on an ongoing daily basis, we're in communication with, if not many of these stakeholders, just to continue to build that relationship. And Al, I had to throw in there. We use him quite a bit in our brand. And another big piece too, this wasn't in this, it is at the top of our strategic plan now, but will always be in our strategic plan, is trying to break down barriers. So we want to be approachable not only as our team, but within the municipalities. So we want to make it really easy for people to contact us, access information. So we have been putting together studies like the investment attraction study, our site selector website, and business plans, just to make it easy for people to basically open a business here or invest in the area. Or if they're already a property owner, how do they access information to expand? And this, again, just goes down to some of the other barriers that we break down. Right now, we're trying to collaborate with the EID more on our shared goals. So that's leveraging our assets, such as water, land, and our recreation spaces. They're very forward-thinking and wanting to move ahead in economic development as well, so we have constant contact with EID. And then some of the other things we do, we hold regular economic development stakeholder meetings, so that's with those partners on that first slide that you saw visuals of. We really want to strengthen those relationships because, again, if it's not at that ground level, if we're not working well together, then obviously who would want to do business with us? So we work with them to also offer educational opportunities and resources for local businesses. So some of the things we've done in the past is host Power Up. We constantly do business-to-business networking. New Grow is one of our most successful programs. We've hosted Social Schools, which is a social marketing class. We're moving into mentorship, so having our businesses mentor one another. And then we've also done a Bladeside program, just to name a few. We do continue to do biannual business surveys, and then one of our biggest things, again, is that we promote that we have a supportive government, that we say, it's not that we don't say no, it's that we say we'll find another way. And then phase. So I'm not a big bragger, but we had to throw this in here just to say that over the last 3 years, we've been really working to improve our reputation, and so we're starting to hear the conversation change, and we're really proud of that. So we threw a few of the quotes in there that we've heard from partners and stakeholders who've said, you guys are doing a really, really great job. I won't read those. And then some more of the successful programs and shop local programs that we've done. I had to list them. Newell Proud is a baby that we started, and I'm really proud of it. It's hit 2,000 likes. It's a shop local program that wasn't here before we came in, and that's doing really, really well. We weekly highlight, or every couple of weeks highlight a regional business, whether it's in the city or county, just to let people know they exist. And then New Grow, we've put $80,000 over 2 years back into the local economy for business growth. And then, again, some more projects. We've leveraged some CARES grants. We've received 2 CARES grants from the provincial government. We've done a waste from energy study, and then currently we're working on a workforce development strategy to assess what our current labor market looks like. And then we've participated with other projects and groups within Southern Alberta, which includes the SEEDS group and then DEC. And that pretty much sums it up. Hopefully I spoke fast enough so that I could leave some time for some questions. I was trying to just get through it quickly.
All right, guys. Questions? Brian.
Yeah, you're not going to get away without a question. Excellent presentation, by the way. So where do you see us going in the next time, like in the next year, 2 years, 3 years, as far as when I look at our strengths in this community and how we can capture or expand, with your guys' expertise, and I use that quite respectfully, I feel you guys are very good at what you do. Where would you like to see us go as far as being able to attract outside investment for certain types of our strengths, which is, in my mind, agriculture, secondary processing, oil and gas is still prevalent, whether it's manufacturing or the actual. So, those are my visions. I'm looking at what do you see and what's the blueprint to get to that point?
No, that's a really good question. So we've been working, everything that we've been doing up to this point has been building the foundation to do that. So when we first got in this position, when we took over economic development, someone said, Chase Cavendish. Why aren't we getting Cavendish? Because we heard that they were setting it up in Lethbridge. How come we can't get them? And to do that, it's not just a phone call. It's not just saying, hey, we have potatoes. Would you come here? What I hope to see in the future is that we can continue to build the research and the knowledge, and then so we've already done a great job at assessing what we currently have. We know that our strengths are agriculture, manufacturing, oil and gas, and those sectors. But in the future, what would be nice is to be able to build an investment attraction profile in those specific sectors, and to do that, we need to create, okay, where are the gaps, and do we have the workforce? What information do we have to say, okay, hemp processor, you can come here because we grow this much hemp. We have this landowner here who's willing to sell to you to build your processing facility. So what I'm getting at is we need to put all those stars in alignment, and that's where I see us going in the future, is to make sure that we have enough potatoes here where we could actually supply a processor and not just have them grown here, but know where that market's coming from, because it's really hard to attract attract someone if we don't have all of that information collected. Am I making sense? So right now with the workforce development strategy, what we're looking at is anything that we bring in terms of even processing will be competing with JBS. If JBS is having a really hard time right now recruiting employment, are we going to have a hard time finding workers for this new processor? So what we really need to do is analyze who we have here, how we're going to even attract those new workers, and is it going to compete with, say, the cannabis processors that are moving in, or any other industry that is trying to move in. And not just trying, it's those who've already purchased land or are trying to make a deal. So I see the strategy moving forward because it's almost impossible in my position to just cold call random, like, P fractionation plants and say, yeah, you should set up here. We do have a great relationship with the EID. We have an abundance of water, but until I actually can prove to that processor why they should move here, that's basically the direction that we're moving. Does that make sense? I can keep going.
Good job on Newell Proud on Facebook. I just love to read those little blurs about new businesses or existing businesses. That's good job, girls. I have two questions. The one is about the research station. They had some layoffs announced, I think starting in January. You think that's going to have an impact on our community?
You're talking about the Crop Diversification Center South. Yeah, we just learned just this week of their head of the department was walked out. I think it's going to have a definite impact, especially for us because he's our main contact. And I have a current business that's trying to open and had a meeting with him, and he was the one who let me know that he was no longer there. So it is going to be a huge impact because we are an agricultural region, and that, like I said in my presentation, it's a huge resource for us. So to be honest, and I know Lane has done it as well, it's great for us to be able to take an investor there and show them the facility, and every investor that I take in there is blown away that we have that here. So losing the staff just continues. It's dwindled in the last couple of years more and more and more. So we're still fighting for it, to be honest. We have a really good relationship with Jan Warren out of Alberta Agriculture, and she comes up quite constantly to meet and see, and she's even lobbying for the facility as well. So any chance that we meet with a minister or that we meet with Alberta Agriculture, we are always trying to support it. So I hope that we build back up to where it was.
And the second question was about your branding. We're using Brooks Region, but yet we still have NRTA, which people don't even know really what that stands for. So are there discussions on maybe putting those two together?
That's a good question as well. So just actually this week, they brought in Don Anderson. He's a consultant, and he has been working with the NRTA to redo their strategic plan. Their board has been working and discussing the same way that we had approached it. Is Newell better? Is Brooks better? How do we do this? But I believe the consultant recommended that they should stick with what was outlined from our consultant that said, do the Brooks Region brand, but just specify tourism so that we all get on the same page. And when we met with each individual stakeholder to introduce the brand, each of them are willing, the chamber was willing to embrace it. So we're moving on that path. So we don't have control over the NRTA board and if they decide to adopt that strategic plan, but he did recommend that they adopt the Brooks Region brand. Yep. So hopefully.
So I see a picture of Quintus Dairy here. So what would they have done that they wouldn't have done on their own that you influenced them to do?
I'm not exactly sure. Myra met with him. We had a summer student this past year, and she took those pictures out there. To be honest, even with Philpott, there wasn't a lot we could do for them, but it's just having that conversation. So we introduce ourselves to them and see if they do have any obstacles. He doesn't, so we couldn't offer support to him whatsoever. But if he was looking to expand, or just even like having this conversation lets them, I guess I should have started out by saying as well that a lot of people don't know what economic development is, or even when we introduce ourselves, they just don't know what types of services we can offer. So a big piece of that brand is saying, we can do this for you, or this for you. So just in that conversation, we've even learned that many people or farmers even don't know that they're exporters because they're not selling to another country, right? But if they're selling to someone that is exporting, they're technically an exporter. So just by you and I having that conversation as a business owner and myself, then I'm able to understand what it is that your needs are and if we can offer you assistance. But the county's pretty big, so we're slowly trying to chop away at them.
I guess that's kind of, I struggle with economic development, I really do. And I think back when I was involved in the processing side of the dairy industry, I can't remember our staff ever going to government, and that's how you're viewed, for advice on where we should build our next plant. And I don't know how you get into that. So I really struggle with what you can do, just in hard facts, and that's why I asked that question, because the dairy industry was where I was at for many years of my life. What would I have done differently if I could have accessed your services? And I wouldn't know, and you've just told me that you really couldn't help Philip, and I don't know who you talked to, but I'm a different generation, so it's hard to get our hands around it. Sometimes I think we have people that in our area that probably could use some advice or help or push or knowledge, because I think we really should be building from within rather than trying to build from without, because bringing somebody in is really, really difficult, which I'm sure you know. But can you mobilize the resources that we have, the people that we have, to build things here that work for us? And how do you do that? And you've got a way better grasp of all that stuff than I do, but it really puzzles me how you can do that.
I can address that. It's really tough. And the biggest challenge that we've had is finding a way to communicate, especially to those in the farther stretches of the county, to let them know what resources we have and what we can help them with. Because it's not even, like I said, having that conversation between the dairy farmer and myself. It's having a broader scope. So we've even attended ag days where we're just in that process of trying to educate everyone on what it is that we do, and it's a big list, right? So we would love to get all of those farmers or all of the producers or manufacturers into a room, and we've been working slowly at doing that so that we can offer presentations like this to say, okay, we're here to help you. Let us know how it is that you need assistance. And maybe you don't need help, but did you know that you can expand? Did you know that you can offer additional services or diversify? As an oil company, maybe you're struggling. Have you looked at exporting or working in a cluster with another manufacturer to change your business? So the communication is the biggest piece of us trying to promote what those services are. So even doing a newsletter, we do a newsletter specifically, in my mind, more for farmers and producers, because they're not on social media. They're not, maybe they're reading the newspaper and listening to the radio, but how can we let them know more about us and who we are and how to access that? But it also takes all of our friends and counselors and anybody else that we know that could share that information and say, hey, well, did you know that Jessica is willing to help you? Because a lot of coffee talk happens here. So we've even joked about going to those coffee sessions to sit down and have a one-on-one to say, hey, as a farmer, what are you facing today? Like, what is it, are you needing assistance in attracting new employment or new workers? Like, what is it that you need assistance with? So, but that all starts with letting people know that we exist and that we're here, even if they don't know what economic development is, right? So we just want enough referrals or enough people to get to know us. So we're putting our faces out there, even that's not very comfortable for me, but letting people know who we are so that they understand that we're here and that we want to help in any way possible. So.
And it builds on itself.
Right.
It really does. And I think we can't lose fact of the fact that in Alberta, we've got an Edmonton-Calgary corridor, who is our tremendous competition to what we're trying to pull stuff over this way. And if people are looking, if they have entrepreneurs are out there, where do they look? They don't come to Brooks first. So that's frustrating. But that's what we have to get people. And I agree totally with what you're trying to do. But it's very, very difficult. So I like what I hear. Certainly, for all of us who live here, that for you to have success, we all have to be part of it. But anyway, it's a nebulous thing to me. Very. I can recall. We put a cheese plant in Medicine Hat. I think it was open for 10 years, and it was probably not the right place, probably wasn't the right product, probably wasn't enough volume, all those types of things. And those things happen. It just, how do you get that going? And we're living in a world where the big get bigger and the small get smaller. So it's a very tough job. But we see the energy, we see the attitude, and it's really great. It's refreshing. So thank you.
I would just put on the PEP committee. Do you work with them at all? Because I was at their meeting on Friday there, and they brought up several things. Like they were saying at the meeting that China right now is looking for pre-packaged agricultural products with a barcode that says this is from Canada. They are very concerned about, right now, contaminated foods. And I started looking around. We have honey here. I mean, that'd be a great market to get into. So, they have some great ideas there. Like there's that Plant Protein Alliance. That's, the world needs protein. This is something we can do fantastic in our area, is grow protein. And do you, like the first question I was saying, do you work at all with PEP, which is Palliser Economic Partnership?
Yeah, we're very, very aware of Walter Valentini and PEP. It's a hard question for me to answer. It should be easy, but it's hard, especially being recorded and on YouTube. No, I shouldn't joke. So the minute that we've been in economic development in the region, we've been working very closely with PEP. We've done a couple projects with them. So hard for me to answer.
Jess, I can offer them further information at a later point.
Okay. Yeah, and I can speak to some studies that we've done with them. We worked really closely with Walter on the Energy from Waste project. He had initially approached the region to do a logistics park, and we said kind of hold up before we jump into this logistics park thing. Let's check out and make sure that even if we went ahead with this expensive study, that we wanted to see if it would be even a viable logistical thing to happen here, right? Everybody thinks of us as a logistics area, and we are. We're the hub because we're so close to Calgary. We're on the corner of 36 and the number 1. Yeah, anyway, I'll go on. But before we had that conversation, we said, well, let's talk to CP first. Let's go back and see if we build this logistics park, is CP going to stop here? We went back to CP and they said, no. A lot of communities will think if you build it, they will come, and they have that mentality, but we're too close to Calgary. So we worked with PEP on transitioning that study into the waste from energy study because we had a lot of interest at that time in regards, and we continue to still have a lot of interest in this area for, well, you're obviously all aware of SEWA, but we have a lot of scientists and inventors and different businesses and companies wanting to build that type of facility here, whether it's incineration or energy from waste. So we worked with him a bit on that project. Another project that was supposed to come our way was the value-added investment agri-food project that's currently going on. We were promised to have a couple of profiles written for the region, but where it's going is that I'll let Molly deal with a little bit more. It's a tough working situation and relationship, and that's what it's come down to be honest. It's just very tough to get what we're trying to go after. So we've been taking more control ourselves of doing that on not just behalf of the city and the county, but Bassano, Dutchess, and Rosemary. So we are still huge advocates for like the Plant Protein Alliance that you're speaking to. I recently went to Tabor for a fractionation workshop just to go there to seek out investors to see if they would be interested in coming to the region. So, and that would obviously be a really good fit in the county. So, we're still, even though it looks like PEP is doing all of that, we're also trying to make sure that we're leveraging our assets and going after those types of investment. So,
yeah, I realize I have a lot of things to learn yet. So, okay, I appreciate what you've done. Thanks.
I'm happy to hear that you think you've got a lot to learn, Wayne. Kevin, you see, looks like there's no other hands up, so.
Okay, well, thanks, ladies. It's a great presentation. We get to see it at Joint Services all the time, and you guys do a great job. I think the PR and the efforts that we make to make the region more attractive are really noticeable. I'm going to put my spiel out again. I do to council every once in a while, but we're either going to have to invest more money in economic development or something moving forward, I think, because the region has been in a pretty big rut in terms of growth for at least 11 years. I mean, our assessment's going to be less than it was in 2008 coming up. We're not seeing any new growth to any great degree. I know the city, I hear all the time that their equalized assessment per capita is the lowest in their peer group comparables. Their capital investment is the lowest in their peer group comparables. And whatever we're going to need to do going forward, we're going to have to really focus on growth and strategic growth and making some KPIs and some benchmarks of where we are today and where we need to go, because we can't continue, in my view, to slide this way. We've got not only businesses vacant, but we have all kinds of inventory developed. I mean, the city did a new industrial site in 2004 when I was there, and there's been a few sold. I believe the workforce will come with development. If we're going to hold back development because workforce isn't here today, I don't think that's probably the right approach, but I do think we're going to have to get strategic, and we're probably going to have to put initiative just to that, whether that's going to take some more money or something. But I believe that the next 5 to 10 years is going to be crucial. Otherwise, we're really going to hurt in this region, because housing starts, nothing's moving, and it hasn't, right? It's too slow. So all positive from what we've done, but hopefully as we go forward, we can ramp up.
Thanks, Kevin. We do have an 11:30 delegation who's patiently waiting, and certainly you'll get your whole time too, Connie. We're just running a little bit behind. Any other questions? So you all feel a little more comfortable about the understanding of, Ellen.
Do you feel like you're making a difference up to this point? You said you put down the basic. Do you feel like, especially you were saying businesses, are they happy? Of course, mom and pop businesses are very important too, because they employ a lot of people. Do you find that you are of any help to them when no one comes through the door?
The mom and pop businesses, or just businesses in general? We can only do so much to help them, right? So I do feel that we've created a really good network, not just with those partners locally, but provincially and federally. So I feel that if we can help them, yes, that we have something to offer them. So I do feel like we're making a lot of progress that way. And it's hard to, I don't like to toot our own horns, and I won't say mine, but it's all of us. Like I said, the conversation's really changing, and I do feel like when we go outside of the community, and it's also internally, there's that buzz. And I believe one of the councillors has said that at the joint services meeting is you really will find out if you go and talk to the businesses and say, okay, do you know of these people, or have you worked with them? If you don't, you should access them. But I feel like that conversation is very positive. Yes, there's a lot of the negative in people are hurting right now, and that's really, really sad and tough. And all of us especially are somehow related to someone in the oil patch, even in this area. So I'm not gonna lie and say, oh yeah, everything's sugar and roses and we're just all happy and wonderful, because it is really tough for a lot of people. But I feel like we're making a positive impact as much as we possibly can be. And if we didn't exist, then there wouldn't be that resource for someone to say, oh, you're struggling or you need assistance. Well, I'm sorry, we have nothing to offer you. But instead, we can now offer, yeah, we have this team who are here in any way possible to help you try to survive your business, expand your business, or do what's possible to make you stay in business. So, yeah.
Thanks, Jessica.
Okay, thanks for having me.
Thanks, Lisa. Have a good Christmas season. Todd and Connie, welcome. Just curious, while Todd's getting organized, Jessica, do you ever connect with this guy, Todd Green? Yeah, I'm glad to hear that. So we are going to, ladies are certainly welcome to stay and listen to this next delegation. It's an agricultural issue. If you're interested, feel free. Then you could have lunch with us too. Okay, folks, looks like Todd's trying to take the back row. Is he on you, Connie? He's got your back. We'll get started. I think Connie's ready on item 8.2, and we'll do some introductions around our table. So we always, sometimes introductions probably drive people crazy, but we have a big county, as yours, similar to Cyprus, and a lot of different areas, so it's always nice to sort of know where our 10 councillors, big council, are from. And Lionel.
Good morning, Lionel Juss, and I'm represent Division 10, which is north and east of Brooks.
Good morning, Hebe Kellen, Division 2, Tilly, on the way to Medicine Hat.
Good morning, I'm Tracy Fife, and my division is Division 5, and it's west and south around the city of Brooks.
Good morning, Anne-Marie Phillipson, Patricia area.
Morning, Connie, Brian DeJong, and I represent the area around Dutchess.
Clarence.
She's still, she grew up in Cyprus, but we own her.
I call myself a dual citizen.
I'd forgotten about that, so thank you for that reminder. And welcome, Connie, today. And I am from the northern part of the county, the Red Deer River area. Of course, our county's bounded by the Red Deer and the Bowen, so I'm in the North Country.
Good morning and welcome. I'm Kevin Stevenson, County Administrator.
Good morning, I'm Kelly Christman from the west side of the county.
Good morning, Wayne Hammergren from Scandia Country.
It is still morning. Good morning. I'm Ellen Unra, and I represent the lands around the village of Rosemary.
Good morning, Ariana Nielsen, Executive Assistant.
Lane Johnson, the Director of Corporate Services.
Okay, nice to meet you all. And thank you so much for allowing me to come in and talk about my newest passion, which is this book I've written with Relena Verostic, who's Ray Verostic's daughter. So we're covering two demographics. I cover the grandma crowd and she covers the mom crowd. And so we've put this book together because we've both noticed a disconnect between urban and rural. So we're trying to educate kids about agriculture. There's not a lot of nonfiction books about agriculture written for kids, so we're finding this niche, and we hope to get this through to all the schools, and we hope to do it through the Ag Services, Board. So I do have one copy of the book. This is the proof book, and I'll just send it around so you guys can flip through it. But the whole book is on here, and I'm not going to read the whole book because we'll be here till your next delegation and you'll miss lunch. Oh, my assistant, Todd. Vanna.
Speak into your mic. The sound in our room isn't always that.
Is that better?
Yeah.
Oh, now I really hear myself. Okay, so this is our cover, and on the cover you see little Jack Lester. In our photo shoot, I asked Relena to come out do a photo shoot of vegetables, and then that day Darby came by with her kids and they had their cute little overalls, and I says, can you come back tomorrow, because I think we're going to do a photo shoot with your kids. So I don't show the kids' faces too much. I don't really want to, if this book goes really far, we don't need Jack's face and stuff everywhere. So yeah, but you could tell it's a little farm kid having fun on the farm. So our book is printed in Canada. I did go to the farmer's market in Medicine Hat, and there was another publisher here who's printed in China, and that's just not what I want to do. I want to print a Canadian book, Canadian authors. It's a little more expensive, but we're going from dirt to dinner. So we're talking about how it starts with a seed, but a seed's not all that we need. And then we talk about soil. My degree is in soil science from the University of Agriculture. University of Alberta had a soil science major. So yeah, it was really hard for me to cut this down to one page, 4 years into one page, but we managed to talk a little bit about soil. And then, of course, we need warm weather, so we talk about weather. We talk about the challenges for farmers and weather, and frost-free days, educate kids on that. And then, we need equipment to farm, so we've got some equipment pieces there. Irrigation, of course, is important around here. So we talk about that. We talk about photosynthesis, that we need sunshine for crops. And as you can see, there is a flow to this, so I need sunshine, soil. So we do a lot of repetition in the book, so by the end of the book, they realize that you need a lot of different things. Having done the classroom agriculture program, this book is geared towards grade 2 to 6. I've generally been talking to grade 4. When I go to Hutterite colonies, you basically get grades kindergarten to grade 9. So I've added photosynthesis reactions in there. When I first started doing the classroom agriculture program, probably 25, 30 years ago, maybe even longer, I can't remember, I'd have a really hard question award, and I'd put that reaction up on the board. And now kids know right away what this is. So I've included it in the book. So Nicole Short edited the book. She said she likes the flow, and she likes that there is facts about things. So there's lots of kids who like to to investigate facts. So we've got the flow and we've got the facts. And then we talk about we need nutrients. So if kids can learn dinosaur names, they can certainly learn nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. Make that as part of their vocabulary. So again, that's in there. And of course we need bees, so we put bees in there. This was Relena's favorite page. So, and then pulling weeds. Of course, we always have to pull weeds. Half of Rolling Hills School has pulled weeds in my garden. So I've employed a few children there. Not as child labor, but their parents just want to get them out of the house or something, I don't know. And then we talk about partners because, you know, we're not an island. We need all kinds of people. We need oil and gas people. We need marketing specialists. When I do my presentation, the classroom agriculture presentation, I actually have job cards for a couple kids to read so that they learn that we need each other. And then we start talking about nutrition in our vegetables. Some kids don't know where certain vegetables come from, so we've kind of gone through it. Heard a story from one farmer. They had a U-pick operation where you could go get your own potatoes. Well, mom and the kids went to the field where they were told. They came back and they said there was no potatoes there. So they didn't know that you had to dig underground. So the disconnect is not going to get smaller, it's going to get bigger. So I think we need to do something. And then we talk about the vegetables for eye health. You know, potatoes are high in vitamin C, and carrots are good for your eyes. And then we talk about, you know, foods are different colors and, you know, the things we get from the ground. We talk about corn, and that's my son in that picture, so he's an adult now. And then, you know, little game here, guess what the vegetables are. We talk about some kids didn't know that pickles came from cucumbers, so there's a picture, tells you what it is. And then strawberries, talk about different kinds of strawberries, encouraging them to go to U-pick. And then this is an important fact that I always bring up, that only 1/32 of the land mass is suitable for agriculture. So my grandchildren, my 2 granddaughters, live in the city of Moscow in a population of 20 million. So this is the book I'm going to be reading to them because they're not going to get a lot of exposure to agriculture. So of course, then we need to give thanks for all of this. And then there's make your own dirt, the references I used. And now this is where the counties come in, bringing more ag into schools. So what if a book is what we need to start educating students about agriculture? What if a farmer wrote a nonfiction book, kids' book about agriculture? What if every county and municipality bought 10 kids' books about agriculture written by a farmer and donated them to 10 schools? If 63 counties bought 10 books to give to 10 schools in their counties or municipality, or even better, their neighboring city schools, we could cover 630 schools. 630 schools would have a book about agriculture written by a farmer, donated by an agricultural service board. What if 10 kids in each school signed out a book about agriculture written by a farmer, donated by an agricultural service board, and took it home to read with their parents? 10 kids in 630 schools read the book at home with their parents. Now 6,300 homes read a nonfiction book about agriculture written by a farmer, donated by an agricultural service board. What if some of those kids are future leaders, politicians, or even future protesters? Would they know the importance it takes? Would they know what it takes to grow food and its importance if they read a nonfiction book about agriculture written by a farmer? Not many kids grow up on farms, and some may never have the opportunity to visit a farm. Is a book what we need to bring some agriculture into class and urban homes? It's not all that we need, but it's a start, and we could start now. Dirt to Dinner, a nonfiction book about agriculture written by a farmer in partnership with another farm girl, and we call ourselves Partners in Grime. So we're working on a website, ilovedirt.ca. I can't believe that domain was still open, but Relena got it for us. We have a Facebook page, and we're going to be starting an Instagram. So I did this presentation for Cypress County, and they've agreed to buy 56 books. They didn't think one book for each school was enough, so they're buying 2 copies for each book for each school and then donating them. So the County of Newell, when I looked it up, you have 20 schools here. 7 of those are Hutterite colonies. So, I mean, it's up to you whether that's important to you. But, so that's kind of what I'm hoping to accomplish here, is to get books donated. And Nicole Short would really like a book for her school. So that's my presentation. If you have any questions, like I said, this is at the printers right now. I've only got the proof. We're printing 1,000 copies to start with. There's been a fair bit of interest on Facebook, but a lot of that is my friends and family. And Relaina's people are starting to get on there. So yeah, we're hoping that the County of Newell will consider also following the lead of Cypress County, and the MD of Smoky River has also ordered books for schools in their municipality. So yeah, they would be ready for conference, and then I'd distribute them there.
Thanks, Connie. Questions? Brian?
Great job. Thank you for doing this. Thank you on behalf of farmers. My question is what's your strategy to get them into our urban schools? And by urban, I mean the big cities. Because I think it's important that we sell what you're doing and asking us to support our locals.
Yeah.
But I think there's a bigger part of what you're doing, and that's, I'm curious about the strategy of how to get them into a city environment.
Yeah, so with the classroom agriculture program, I do have access to the big city schools there. Most of the classes are in Calgary and Edmonton. So hopefully I'm part of the classroom agriculture program. I'm the Zone 1 coordinator. So at our meeting in January, I'm going to talk to them about my book there and see if they don't want to maybe start putting them into teachers' kits. It is quite an expensive book. It's $18. So I don't know if they want to print, like it would be, I don't know how many books it would be. I think there's 800 schools that we cover through that program. And then also as well, my daughter's got friends who are teachers, and we'll just kind of work our way in through the school board. Yeah, we're just going to keep plugging away at it. Going through, maybe go to teachers' conventions, I'm not sure.
Mm. Maybe we should be buying some and giving them to urban schools. Other questions? Clarence?
And that's kind of my question, Connie, is why come to the county and not the Grassland School Board?
Because I think as farmers, we've brought up this as resolution after resolution, right? 3 years ago, Cypress County wrote a resolution. This year, there's another resolution about getting it. And I think just sending a book to a school saying, this is from the farmer organization in the county, we want you to learn more about us, I think that's a good message to send.
You did have a copy of another book, The Funny Farm. Are
Yes.
there more books out there about farming in general?
This isn't really a book about farming. This is kind of a fairy tale using farm animals because the cows lay eggs and stuff like that. So it's nonfiction, right? Or it's fiction. This other author, she's from Bow Island. Well, she grew up in Bow Island. She talks about that. But she's in Okotoks as well. So we're cross-promoting with her. So yeah, I've just talked to her. She's been at our Rolling Hills Farmers Market selling her books. Very nice art, but again, it's nonfiction. It's not as silly as this one. But yeah, I think we can do a lot of sales online too. Amazon, that's Relaina's thing, doing the online stuff. I'm I'd say she's a people person more than I am, but I don't know, she's behind her computer, she's really good at it. So yeah, I just think it's a positive message to send from the farmers to the schools. And I'm hoping the teachers pick this up and read it to their students or use it as a guide to do a lesson or a couple lessons from this. It's where I start.
And I mean, you have to start somewhere, and there's a lot. You know, when I think about the approach to starting with food that the kids are familiar with, the veggies, for example, is what I saw, and some fruit.
Yeah.
I mean, in my mind, I'm thinking, so the big fields of wheat and canola and all of those huge things that are a little bit more complicated, you know, and how do you get through all of that information? It's a little bit step at a time, I guess.
Yeah, that's book number 2. It's Dirt to Donuts. So we'll cover sugar beets, wheat, probably canola. And
If you're going to fry them, you got to throw in some canola, right?
yeah. And then dirt to denim, because I want to teach kids that clothes comes from agriculture too. We're going to cover wool, cotton.
So you have lots of thoughts for the future.
Oh
obviously.
yeah. I'm hoping, like I'd like to do 5 books. So yeah. So we'll see how the first one goes. And hopefully, have a good big set within 2 years to sell as a set.
Yeah.
But yeah, I plan to sell at the farmers markets too. And that's where I'm going to get a lot of the city people. Go into Millerville, go into Spruce Meadows, maybe Christmas markets. So yeah, it's unfortunate we didn't get it ready for this Christmas, but I think next year I'd like to have at least 2 books done by next Christmas. And I think farmers markets are good places, Christmas markets. So yeah.
Other questions? So I think the information is in our package, right? Connie has a letter in here and sort of written the request, the ask.
Yeah.
Is what you presented as well.
Yeah, so I do have to charge GST. It wasn't in that order form, but yeah, I do have to charge GST. At first I thought books were exempt from GST, and they should be, but I guess we need more money to the government because we've got billions of dollars of deficit, so. Yeah.
Other questions? Ellen?
Not a question, but I'd like to congratulate you on trying. I think it's an awesome book.
Yeah,
and we need more education in schools about agriculture.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, folks, it is past noon, so I'm going to propose that we break for lunch and everybody can join us for lunch, and then we'll pick up on, oh wait, oh no, we have delegations. We have some delegations at 1 o'clock. You know what? Let's break for lunch and come back at 1:45 and finish this off before our next delegation. Is that okay, staff? Okay. So join us for lunch, and we'll be back at work here at 1:45.